Let me just start this video with an apology. This is going to be another one of those videos like I've been doing recently, where I have the script just below the camera, and I'm actually reading it, kind of glancing back and forth, to make the video. Now, in this video, I really tried to just stand up in front of the camera with the outline off to the side, and just go through the outline, saying the words that came to my mouth, and it didn't work. I got halfway through the intro like 8 times, and each time I stopped and said, what the fuck am I talking about? I just could not get the words to come out right, so apologies, but this is going to be another one of these videos. As the title of this video suggests, today I'm going to give a defense of what is called dark humor, which is basically any kind of joke that is made about a taboo subject or just a subject that demands maybe a little more respectful tone, generally speaking. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because there seems to be a growing body of people who really don't like dark humor and really don't like stand-up comedy or comedy in general, for that matter. And these are usually the same kinds of people who argue for trigger warnings everywhere and the banning of speech that offends them and all that. But what got me thinking about dark humor specifically recently is Laci Green's recent video entitled, "It's Just a Joke." In this video, Laci says that if you laugh at an off-color joke, then you probably think that the underlying idea itself is okay and funny. That is, you're laughing at someone suffering. And she also claims that these jokes normalize that suffering. Now, the Peach, here on YouTube, has already made a very good point-by-point response to Laci's video, but I would like to offer a more general response to this kind of attack on dark humor, and in the process, I'd also like to offer some additional points that I would have liked to see from the Peach. To accomplish this, I'm going to analyze one specific example of dark humor and explain why I, and many others, think that it is a funny joke, and this will be the joke that I use for the rest of this video. Here is the joke. How many cops does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. They just beat the room for being black. Now, let me just say, before we go any further, that I understand that humor is a very slippery subject, and my defense of dark humor will not apply to every single off-color joke out there. But I think it will apply to enough of them to make this video worth watching. But, you know, that's just me. That's what comment sections are for. Anyway, the reason why I laugh at this joke, and why I think many other people laugh at this joke, is actually threefold. Number one, there is a joke structure to laugh at. The word black is being used as a pun. Number two, I believe that racially influenced police brutality is real, so this joke is grounded in something else that I recognize about the world. And number three, I find racially influenced police brutality to be a distressing reality. Hey, that rhymes. So let's go through these points one at a time. Number one, joke structure. Oftentimes, the people who defend dark humor, like myself, will present an argument that I don't think is quite right. The argument will go something like, you can laugh at an issue while still understanding that it's a serious issue. But I don't think that's quite what's happening. I think there needs to be a clearer distinction made. I would instead say that you can laugh at a joke built around an idea while still understanding that the idea on its own is serious and not to be laughed at in and of itself. In other words, the joke structure is different from the idea that it's built on, and we're laughing at the former, not the latter. When I laugh at our sample joke, I'm not laughing at the fact that police beat up black people disproportionately. I'm laughing at the fact that the word black has been used as a pun, and the resulting mental image of police officers somehow beating up a room. If what Laci in her video said is true, and we're actually laughing at the underlying message, that is, police brutality itself, then the off-color jokes that she's referring to wouldn't be jokes at all. They would simply be statements of the problem itself, and people would laugh. A black man was beaten to death by the police today. Ha ha ha, said the KKK. Number two, grounding in reality. If a person doesn't believe that the blackness of something has anything to do with police beating it, then they probably won't laugh at this joke. The joke would have no basis in reality, and the punchline could just as easily be, none. They just beat the room for having 4 walls. Wait, how does having 4 walls relate to police beating it? I don't get it. In fact, what I think is more likely to be true of someone who doesn't laugh at this joke is that they are someone who thinks that all this talk about police brutality is just political race baiting, and they'll find this joke especially not funny because to them it's based on the pervasive lie that the blackness of something relates to police beating it, because we just love to hate on the police and not, be patriotic to our country. Damn liberals. And actually, I can give an example of a joke that I don't find funny for the same kind of reasons as our hypothetical conservative. Why are women's pockets only 77% the size of men's pockets? Okay, you can figure out the punchline. The point is, if someone told me that joke, or a joke like that, I wouldn't really find it funny because I view the wage gap in a similar way that our hypothetical conservative views talks of racially motivated police brutality. That is, I don't think it's a real issue, or at least I don't think it's an important issue. In fact, I think the wage gap, the 77% stat at least, is a trite battle cry of dogmatic feminism used to sucker people into its ranks. Which is why I don't laugh, or I wouldn't laugh, at that kind of joke about the wage gap. Not because I understand the reality of the situation. In fact, the opposite. The takeaway from all of this is that our sample joke is really only funny to people who agree that racially targeted police brutality is real. Number 3. Distress. Another aspect of comedy which Laci doesn't seem to understand is the fact that eliciting mild stress in people is a good way to make them laugh. Laughter is a natural human response to certain levels and certain types of stress, and one of the things that marks a skilled comedian is their ability to elicit that type of and that amount of stress in their audience. George Carlin was famous for his ability to bring people to the edge of their comfort zone and to make them laugh because of it. George Carlin relied on the fact that people are not comfortable with certain things, and that they never will be. I mean, if dark humor really did normalize these ideas, then this type of humor would have gone extinct very quickly, and George Carlin himself would not have been famous for 4 decades. And this all has to do with what's called benign violation theory, which basically says that people will laugh at things that make them feel violated in a safe context. In the example of the police brutality joke we're using, the violation, the mild stress, is the fact that the blackness of something does correlate to police beating it. But the safe context is the fact that in this joke, the police are somehow beating up a room instead of a person. Put simply, this joke is that much funnier if you believe that racially motivated police brutality is a serious issue. From these 3 points I've gone through, I actually conclude the exact opposite of what Laci Green asserted. I propose that the moment we stop laughing at jokes built around these ideas is the moment when we stop believing that these ideas are real and serious. It's also the moment when we begin to confuse a joke built around an idea with the idea in and of itself.